Welcome back to the channel. Long Bed Larry is done with paint and ready to pick up. So let's hook up the trailer to the OG crew cab and go pick it up. We got Long Bed Larry on the trailer. Despite what you may think, this video is actually not going to be about Long Bed Larry. I'll do a full separate video on picking him up and finishing all the little details, but hauling it home is going to point out a lot of the things we need to do to this truck and to the trailer. So let's get home and I'll show you the list of stuff we need to get done and hopefully be a little more safe while we're towing stuff. We got it home, so let me show you a couple issues we need to fix. First, the OG crew cab, squatting bad when we've got a load on the trailer, so we're gonna address that, get some airbags on it. Second, I unplugged the trailer, but let me plug it in. So when the trailer is just plugged in, see if you can see this, the lights turn on and the trailer brake controller just says short the whole time. So something's up with the trailer brake wiring, we need to fix that. Another thing, I want to put some type of toolbox up here to put our straps in and stuff. Figure out a way to mount it there. And last, these ramp holders, this one especially, whenever I load something on it, the trailer comes down and bends that, so then the door won't close. So we either need to make some type of brace that can hit the ground before that does, or modify that somehow. We'll see what we do with there, but that is an issue. So let's address those things. There may be a few other things we come across, but should be fun, just little things to knock off the list that are gonna make life easier.
12 seconds later.
Case in point right here. Unloaded it. It usually doesn't do it when I unload it, but there you can see, completely crushed it. So I gotta get my sledge and breaker bar and bend it back. So we gotta figure out something with that. All right, so let's start with the trailer, kind of the low-hanging fruit. We've got to pull this plug apart, make sure none of the wires are loose, and make sure they're all plugged in correctly. We've got a toolbox that we're gonna kind of refurbish, mount it there. And we've got a battery tray for the winch that we're gonna build and weld up. So let's get all that taken care of. Well, I already found the issue. This is a 7-pin plug and there are 6 wires. There's no ground wire right here in the middle. So probably got ripped off. So strip it back, and the plug's plenty long, so we can cut off a couple inches, but I'm guessing, let's see, should be a black one. Where are we at? Where are we at? Right? Shouldn't there be? All right, let me strip it back, see if there's a black one in here. There definitely should be. Well, I tore it back a little bit and there is no black wire, and I think that's because there shouldn't be on this. I think it grounds to the trailer, so it doesn't have to come up and ground to the truck. So that's not the issue. The plug looks really good. Next thing I want to check, I've had a flat on this, I've burnt out a bearing, and the wiring to the trailer brake hubs looks a little suspect. So let's check all those wires, make sure not one of those isn't, you know, ripped off or something. Fix it if it is, and that might be the issue. So I jacked up the trailer, checked all the tires, all the brake wiring, and it was all good. So I don't think it's anything back there. We'll try and find it later, but maybe just wiggling the wires around fixes it. I've had that happen a lot with wiring. That's not the fix, obviously, but that just means something's loose. So we'll come back to that later on in the video and see if we can figure it out. Well, this may not look like much, but this is the toolbox or the box we're gonna try and mount up here. So it actually, yeah, stands up like this, so I like it because it's not as wide. And then this opens up, and we need to clean it because it is dirty inside. We need to paint it, and then this door slides up in there, but we need to grease it and get it going. That side is sliding in, but that side's not, so we got to grease the hinges and everything. But I think it'll make a good, oh, there we go, it did it on its own. What do you know? So that'll be nice. It's got 2 shelves in it, so we can put our ratchet straps, anything we need, stuff for the winch, all that. So let's get her cleaned up and painted. So here's the look of where it's gonna be. Down a little bit. So we need to move the box for the trailer brakes. That's an easy move. And the bigger issue is the jack is going to hit. So I do have a plan for the jack. I've actually been meaning to replace this in a company I've been talking to, so we'll probably just take this off as soon as we get the new jack, and we're going to mount a new jack right here. It's still a manual jack, but it's somehow got some gearing in it that it's much quicker to go up and down, and it's supposed to be more sturdy. So that's what she's going to look like, though. It's going to be sweet. We'll throw a fresh coat of paint on it, move the trailer brake box, and then we'll have spot somewhere over here for a battery tray. I actually might put it right here. I think that'd be perfect. Here's the next little issue. The front of the box has this lip for, there's a spot for the door to close. So there's a gap right there. So I've got this 1/2 inch square tubing. We're gonna cut a couple pieces, weld them on back there, so it's got a base to sit on so it's even. Okay, so we've got it where I want it. I need to get some bolts. I was debating whether I should weld it down or not, but I decided not to. I'm going to bolt it down to the frame here and then through this post here, so there'll be 4 points just in case we ever need to remove it. But while I have the welder out, I'm going to make the battery box, which I'm going to figure out somehow to mount it right over here. Here's our battery. Probably need to make it just more of a generic size box and put it over there so we have a battery for the winch always on hand. It's getting dark, but here is the battery box. So I did 13 inches this way, 8 inches that way, which should accommodate pretty much any size battery that I want to throw in here. It's the next day. If you guys needed a reason to go follow me on Instagram, here is a reason for you. So I posted a thing on Instagram last night asking people's input of where to put the battery. So I had the box here, and I was talking about doing it here, you know, up here, something like that. And by far the majority of the people said make it fit in the toolbox. So change of plan, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut this shelf at 13 inches cut it out, and then we'll probably put a support here, have a spot for the battery box, or for the battery, and then you know, we'll still have plenty of room for all the other stuff. You guys ready to see it? We got a spot for the battery, and I figured out something cool about the doors, which you guys probably already saw and probably already commented from a while back in the video. So the doors, you know, I was saying how I wish this one went somewhere. Well, it does. Folds up in there, just like that. And here is our battery spot. Right there. So that turned out perfect. The piece I cut out, I kind of made a piece right there. Really cool. I'll have to come up with some type of tie down, but that's not anything pressing right now. Oh, that's awesome. Now the reason I didn't want to put the battery here is because, especially this positive lead won't reach, but that's fine. I'll either extend these, or I'll just have a set of battery jumper cables in here that we can run off here to those, or run off to jump a vehicle, whatever we need. Pretty sweet. So now we need to paint it. The problem is it is super windy. It's been windy here for days for some reason, and I've got too many nice trucks out here to have overspray just blowing haphazardly around here. So we'll hold off on painting it. I'm gonna get the hardware. We'll drill some holes to bolt it down, but I am super happy with this. And got a new jack on the way. Got a bunch of stuff, ordered a bunch of stuff. So we have a bunch more to do on this. Oh boy, I just found something else out. So with the door open, you can easily use this jack. So we'll see. I ordered one. I think it's going to be much nicer. I'll probably end up using that, but if we have to have this as a backup, we can. So it's still too windy to paint this right now, but I made a little more progress. And then we're gonna move over to the ramp conundrum that I talked about in the beginning of the video. So let me show you the toolbox. So here it is again. It's too windy to paint, but I've got it all. I've got 2 bolts through there. I'll show you when I open that up. Then I've got 3 bolts back here. I put 1/4 inch rubber between there just to absorb some of the shock. Put this new lock on it. Okay. There we go. I built a hold down for the battery, just got a hinge, welded it back there, welded it to this flat bar right there. Pretty nifty. And then yeah, I got 2 bolts going into this frame. I've got the battery connectors on here, but as I've been doing this project, I've been posting on Instagram again, and you guys have some awesome ideas. So we're gonna do some stuff to this, probably not in this video, but to make it easier to connect and disconnect the cables, not have to take the battery in and out. Should be pretty sweet. But let's go hop back onto the ramps. Remember, the ramp entrance thing kind of gets crushed every time I load a truck onto the trailer. It crushes this bottom corner of the ramp. It screws up the door, so it's a pain in the butt. So we're gonna come up with a fix for that, and I think I thought of an easy fix. All right, I've got it straightened out pretty well. The ramp goes in just fine. The door shuts just fine. So I've got this super thick walled square tubing, and I can't put it back here because the tail already drags when you go over some curves and stuff. So what I'm gonna do is cut a piece that's the same height, or the same, you know, goes the same distance as this. So then when I load, this is gonna take all the force and not this. So I might do it actually another 1/2 inch longer just in case, but I'll weld it on there good and strong, and that should be a good solution for it. Cut this tab off and re-welded it on because it was bent to the wrong spot as well. And look at that. Boom, that's gonna save this ramp entrance, whatever it's called. Sweet. So this other ramp, this was bent up and it was starting to crack right through here, so I bent it back down, ground this out. I'm gonna throw some weld in here. Eventually I'll probably have to plate it, but for now a little weld will do. That's what we call a glob weld. Just threw a bunch of weld in there, shove that in there. Where'd my little pin go? Somewhere. But that does it for the ramps. That feels good. Feels good getting some maintenance done. All right, before we get to the airbags, we have one more thing to do on the trailer. I got our new jack. This is a Kurt 8,000 pound jack. So we're just gonna unpin this one and not use it because it's bent. I don't know if you can tell, but it's bent a little, so when I've got a load on there, it's sketchy to say the least. So let's mount this one. We're gonna weld it on right. I also need to mount that brake controller thing back up. That'll be easy. So we're gonna weld it on right here, which should give it clearance from the toolbox, and more importantly, clearance from the tailgate from the truck. All right, the jack is on. It's welded on all 4 sides. I might actually put a gusset or 2 down underneath. And then I actually cut out this panel right here for the brake controller box to mount to it. So it's still protected inside the tongue here, but that'll be nice. It'll just bolt right to it. So turned out good, and it works. Much easier to turn than the old one for sure. So the other thing I had to pay attention to, this isn't a very tall trailer, so the bottom of the jack, when the foot comes up, it's got to be pretty well up in there. So I think I got it at a really good spot. Okay, the ramp issue is fixed. The toolbox is almost done except for paint. It's still super windy. Now let's move to the OG crew cab. We're gonna install some airbags on that so we're not getting that squat when we towed, you know, a truck 7,000-8,000 pounds, which really isn't that much. So let's get the airbags on. So here's the airbag kit that I got for the OG crew cab. It's the Airlift Load Lifter 5000 series. I'll put a link to these in the description below. Amazon was by far the cheapest I could find these. I even reached out to a company who wanted to help sponsor partially some of the cost. Amazon was still cheaper, so I went with that. But here it is. Should be pretty straightforward to install. So let's do it. I've never done airbags before, but don't think it takes rocket science. I think, according to the instructions, they want you to assemble the whole unit, then put it in and mark all your holes. The instructions are pretty bad. And part of the problem is I hate reading instructions, so maybe they're not that bad and I just don't have the patience for them. So these 2 brackets are supposed to stay parallel, but there's only supposed to be 7 inches, and right now we're at 7.5. So I need this to come down just a little bit, about like that. So I'm gonna see if I can finagle these up in here. It's almost perfect. That's 7 exactly. So that's what we got to do, is get this down just a little bit, and then we'll mark and drill our holes and head to the other side. All right, one is installed. So I have exactly 7 inches between here, and it said to have 5 to 7 inches. So it's on the most spread out we should be at. If I feel like that's too spread out, or we want to have the resting point be a little closer together, they did send these spacers that we can put up under there, which will raise this plate up about 1 inch, maybe a tiny bit more. So then we'll be right in that 6-inch range, which would be perfect. The airbags are in, so I just have to run the airlines. I'm gonna do what most people do and just run them back to here. So that was not hard at all. So let's get the airlines ran, and then probably hook up to the trailer and load up Long Bed Larry and see how the airbags work, how the new jack works, how the new bump stock works. Making progress. There we go. So I connected it. I actually did a T and did them both to the same Schrader valve. So when I fill them up, they'll fill up equally. I know some people like to do them separate, but I like it to be combined. So there it is. So I'm gonna put, I don't know, 35, 40 PSI in there. We'll check for leaks. If there's no leaks, we'll throw the tires back on. I couldn't find the air chuck for my air compressor, so this is all we've got right now. Still haven't gotten bolts for this, so I just strapped it on there for now. Also, when I was strapping it on, I found there was a ground that was not grounded out. So I'm wondering if that is our issue. I'm going to plug the trailer in right now and see if that's the issue. Well, it looks good. There's the jack all stowed away, so still plenty of clearance. And I plugged the trailer in. Let's see if the trailer brake controller says there's a ground issue. Ah, it works. That's what you want to see, is the numbers. All right, let's see. The other thing is the lights were on. They're still on. So not completely fixed. Oh well, we'll figure that out later. Let's load up Long Bed Larry and see how the airbags work. One thing I almost forgot, which maybe this has been part of the issue, gotta close these doors or else it'll just hit off the bottom of the door and not our new bump stop. There. All right, the airbags are deflated because I want to see how much this squats when we put the truck on it. So let me load it up. You guys will have a good view of that. Definitely squatted. Camera's in the middle of the street, so hopefully you guys don't get hit. Let's air up the bags. Probably do about 40 PSI. All right, that's 45 PSI. That's about ride height for the truck. The truck sits about 1 inch higher in the front, unfortunately, which we're gonna fix when we redo the rear suspension. But it definitely looks better, and I'm hoping it steers better, because with it squatted so much, it would take pressure off the front steering and it wouldn't steer great when you towed. So the Toolbox was a game changer. Super nice to have all the straps right there, have a chock when I needed it. Really, really nice. So we're all loaded up. Let's go see how it rides. Fixing that ground on that trailer brake part fixed the trailer brakes. The trailer brakes work now, but the lights are still lit up, so that's another issue. Let's go. Yeah, definitely, I mean, we just hit a little bump, but it doesn't feel like the trailer's gonna rip the bumper off or rip the hitch off, I guess. Feels more solid. I want to get going up to speed 60 miles an hour or so and just see how the steering is, because that was a big issue with the, like I said, with the weight all on the tail, it would lift up and not put enough pressure through the steering. So the steering wasn't great. So we're up to 60. Steering feels pretty good. Definitely feels better than without everything we've done. I definitely think this truck needs to be on a gooseneck though. But overall, it's improvement for sure. Well guys, we got a lot done in the video today. A lot of work on the trailer, some work on the OG crew cab. Still some wiring to figure out on the trailer, but we'll get that taken care of. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Always making progress here. We'll see you guys in the next one.